I'm a 40-year-old software developer, and I never thought I'd be sharing a story like this. My wife and I had been married for 15 years, both focused on our careers and building our life together. We didn't have kids. It was a mutual decision since we were both ambitious about our professional goals. She worked in advertising while I was climbing the corporate ladder in tech. Our marriage was solid, or at least that's what I believed. We understood each other's late nights at work and the dedication it took to succeed in our fields. When my wife received a big promotion to become a director at her company, I was genuinely happy for her. She'd worked there for 8 years and really deserved it. The promotion came with better pay and more responsibilities, which meant longer hours at work. At first, everything seemed normal. She'd come home around 8 p.m. instead of her usual 6 p.m., but that made sense with her new role. Sometimes she'd make it home earlier, and we'd have dinner together. I didn't think much about the schedule changes. We were both hard-working people who understood what it took to succeed. Things changed when I got a message on my professional networking account. A junior employee from my wife's company reached out to me. Initially, I thought it was someone trying to network or maybe looking for a job reference. The message was simple, just a hello. I checked their profile and responded politely, expecting some business-related question. The next evening, they messaged again, asking if I was married to my wife. That's when I knew something was off. My first thought was that maybe my wife was being too harsh on her employees. She could be pretty demanding at work. The person wanted to meet in person to discuss something private about my wife, but I insisted they tell me over message. I wanted everything in writing. What they shared shocked me. They said my wife was involved with multiple junior employees at her company. The messenger claimed they weren't trying to cause trouble, but felt I should know. They also asked me to keep their identity secret since they reported directly to my wife. I read the message multiple times before it really sank in. There hadn't been any signs, no suspicious behavior, no strange phone calls, no working weekends. The only change had been her later hours since the promotion. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as workplace drama or someone trying to cause trouble, but something felt real about the message. Instead of confronting my wife immediately, I decided to look for evidence. I needed to either prove this person wrong or confirm my worst fears. I thanked them for the information and promised to keep their name out of it. My chance came a few days later when my wife went for her monthly salon appointment. She usually took her laptop everywhere, but this time she left it at home. I knew her password. We never kept them secret from each other. What I found made my stomach turn. She had saved one person's contact under a food delivery app name. The messages were inappropriate, to put mildly. There were 2 other conversations like this with different employees. None of these guys seemed older than 28. They talked about work occasionally, but mostly the messages were things that shouldn't exist between a director and their employees. I felt sick reading through everything, but I made sure to save copies of all the evidence. This was my wife of 15 years, who hugged me every evening and acted like everything was perfect. We had been intimate multiple times since her promotion, and now I realized I needed to get tested for STDs. I sat there, staring at the screen, trying to decide what to do next. Should I just file for divorce? Should I confront her? Should I try to hurt her career like she hurt our marriage? I needed time to think and plan my next move. One thing was certain, I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. After finding all the evidence, I spent the next few days acting normal while planning my next steps. My first priority was getting tested for STDs. The results came back showing I had an infection. This made everything even worse. I hadn't been with anyone else since we got married, so I knew exactly where it came from. That was the final straw. I decided to confront her that evening. When she came home from work, I asked her to sit down before she could even take off her coat. She could tell something was wrong from my tone, but I don't think she expected what was coming. I know about your affairs with your employees, I said directly. I watched her face change as I listed the names of the people I knew about. I held up my medical results and told her about the infection she had given me. She just sat there, holding her face in her hands. The room was quiet for what felt like forever. When she finally looked up, all she said was, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." Her apology sounded like something you'd say after scratching someone's car, not destroying a 15-year marriage. She didn't cry much, just a few quiet tears. "I didn't think you'd ever find out," she said. "I don't even know how you found out. I hate myself for doing this to you." Her voice was shaking, but honestly, it meant nothing to me anymore. I told her she wasn't sleeping in the house that night. I said I'd be contacting divorce lawyers in the morning and suggested she do the same. She tried to say something about our 15 years together, but stopped mid-sentence. I think she realized there was no fixing this. I waited in the living room while she packed some clothes for the week. We agreed she'd come back later for more of her things. The whole confrontation was surprisingly calm. No shouting, no throwing things, just the quiet end of a marriage. The next few months were all about divorce proceedings. I hired a good lawyer who knew how to handle everything. Since I had proof of her cheating and the STD test results, things went in my favor. Because of her new promotion, she was earning more than me now, which helped my case. I ended up getting monthly payments from her, even though I didn't really need them. I also got to keep our house since she could afford to find a new place more easily with her higher salary. We each kept our own cars and split our savings. The divorce moved pretty quickly since neither of us contested anything. The whole time, I was also thinking about what to do about her workplace situation. I considered going after the guys she was involved with, but decided against it. They were her employees, and regardless of how willing they seemed in the messages, there was a power imbalance there. She was their boss, and that made the whole thing more complicated. Instead, I focused on holding her accountable. I sent an anonymous email to her company's HR department, letting them know that one of their directors was having inappropriate relationships with multiple junior employees. I suggested they investigate the situation. The investigation started quickly. Through my contact at her company, I learned that they found even more than I knew about. There was apparently a fourth person I hadn't discovered. The company took it seriously. They interviewed several employees who worked under her. The investigation ended with her getting fired. Even with her experience and skills, finding a new job became difficult because of the sexual misconduct allegations. According to my contact at her company, she's still struggling to find a position at the same level. I know that her being unemployed could affect the monthly payments she owes me from the divorce, but I'm not worried about that. She has enough savings to keep paying, and if she stops, we can handle it through the court system. That's her problem to figure out, not mine. We've only talked twice since the divorce was finalized, and both times it was just about practical things like splitting up our shared accounts and belongings. I have no interest in ever talking to her again, and from how things are going, I probably won't need to. Looking back at everything now, I'm glad I took the time to plan my response instead of just reacting emotionally. Getting proof before confronting her helped make the divorce process smoother. Sending that anonymous tip to HR was also the right move. She needed to face consequences at work for abusing her position. Some people have asked me if I regret not trying to work things out, especially after 15 years of marriage. The truth is I don't. When someone can come home every day, act completely normal, kiss you, and sleep next to you while carrying on multiple affairs, that shows a level of deception that can't be fixed. My contact at her company eventually told me that this kind of behavior started almost immediately after her promotion. She basically used her new power to start these relationships with younger employees. That makes it even worse in my mind. She didn't just cheat, she took advantage of her position. It's been about 6 months since everything happened. I've started going to the gym regularly and picked up some new hobbies. I'm using the monthly payments from her to take some classes I've always been interested in. My work has actually improved since I don't have the stress of a failing marriage hanging over me anymore. I won't pretend that I'm completely over everything. Being betrayed by someone you trusted for 15 years leaves a mark. But I can say that I'm doing better than I expected. Getting out of that situation and making sure she faced consequences helped me move forward. The house feels different now that it's just me, but in a good way. I've redecorated some rooms and turned her old office into a home gym. Every change makes the place feel more like my own space and less like a reminder of what happened. Some friends have suggested I should start dating again, but I'm not ready for that yet. I'm focusing on myself and my career, and that feels right for now. When I do decide to date again, I'll definitely pay more attention to the red flags I missed before. I know that taking revenge doesn't completely heal the pain of being cheated on, but it does help. Knowing that she lost her job and is struggling to rebuild her career might sound petty to some people, but it feels like justice to me. She didn't just cheat on me, she abused her power at work and hurt multiple people. The consequences she's facing are her own fault. The most important thing I've learned from all this is that you can't control what other people do, but you can control how you respond to it. I could have just walked away with a simple divorce, but I chose to make sure there were consequences for her actions. I don't regret that choice at all. Life isn't perfect now, but it's good. I'm sleeping better, eating better, and generally feeling more positive about my future. Sometimes the best revenge is simply making sure the other person faces the natural consequences of their actions, then moving on with your life. That's exactly what I did. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.